Andy Reback, the middle school director, and it is my pleasure to welcome you this morning to really a seminal event for our 5th and our 6th graders. From Archimedes all the way through to Sylvia Earle and her scientific discoveries, you're going to learn and be fascinated this morning by all kinds of discoveries that have changed the worlds of math and science and our world as well. I think this is just such an exciting program, and I love Biographers Tea because not only do the kids get an opportunity to learn and to grow and to share, but I get to learn and to grow because I learn about people and events and things that have changed my world that I probably wasn't even aware of. So I learned an awful lot today. I would like to take just a moment to recognize the really, really great work that's done by a few of our teachers. Mrs. Hughes, who has guided our 5th graders through this process, helping them learn how to write the research paper, how to dig deeply into somebody's life and to learn what things are important and significant and are meaningful to changes that have happened either in the mathematic world or the scientific world. There's a lot of hand-holding that goes through that process, and it's really, really valuable because then Mrs. Beltry is able to take that expertise in 6th grade and be able to take their students and kind of give them a little bit more independence in that process, which of course helps our students grow and learn so that when they come to 7th grade and they need to write a research paper or do a presentation, they've built more and more confidence to be able to do that independently. And that of course is what we want for our students. I'd like to also thank you as parents because it's your support and your guidance and your encouragement of your students when they're standing in front of here. I'm sure that you have now heard for 95 times the presentation that's going to be given up here about the biography. And that's a wonderful thing because, of course, that means the students are really well prepared. So we thank you for that as well. So I don't want to keep our presenters waiting any longer. I know they're anxious to get on stage to share with you. I'm very anxious to see also after their presentation, the opportunity to speak to each of them individually and find out what they really have learned about their individual. So I would like to begin the program by introducing the middle school choir who will perform for you under the direction of Miss Marie Sinquamani Thomas.
Everyone.
Good morning.
It's a quiet group. Good morning, everyone. Perhaps more coffee is in order. My name is Marie Sinquamani, and I get to work with the middle school choir. We're going to sing 3 songs to get ourselves started. The first one is the Star Spangled Banner. So we invite you to sing along with us. We're going to do just a little bit of rearranging here. Yep, we're going to rearrange a little. Can we have a little circle thing going? Yeah, we're going to rearrange a little bit here as well. Okay, just 1 minute. Yeah, we're going to come up here, and we're going to come up here. Can you pull that circle out? There we go. All right, the Star Spangled Banner. I'm sure that you know the words. We're going to start with this, and then we're going to sing the Elgin Academy hymn. Oh, say, can you see our God's earthly light? What so stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and feature presentation. This is a song about the number 0, and it's awesome. And it is called My Hero 0.
Zero is a wonderful thing. In fact, zero is my hero. How can zero be a hero?
Well, there are all kinds of heroes, you know. A man can get to be a hero for a famous battle he fought.
Or by studying very hard and becoming a weightless astronaut. And then there are heroes of other sorts.
Like heroes we know from watching sports.
But a hero doesn't have to be a grown-up person, you know.
A hero can be a very big dog who comes to your rescue. Or a very little boy who is smart enough to know what to do. But let me tell you about my favorite hero. My hero, Zero. Such a funny little hero. But until you came along, we counted on our fingers and toes. Now you're here to stay. And nobody really knows how wonderful you are. Why we could never reach a star without you, Zero. My hero, how wonderful you are.
What's so wonderful about a zero?
It's nothing, isn't it?
Sure, it represents nothing alone.
But this is zero after one, and you got yourself a 10. See how important that is when you run out of digits and you start all over again. See how convenient that is. That's why with only 10 digits, including zero, you can get as high as you ever go. Forever towards infinity. No one ever gets there, but you can try. 10 billion zeros, from the cavemen to the heroes who invented you. They counted on their fingers and toes, and maybe some sticks and stones, or rocks and bones. Their neighbors' toes, and nobody really knows how wonderful you are. Why we could never reach the stars without you, Zero, my hero. Zero, how wonderful you are. There's one zero after any number, and you multiply that number by 10. See how easy that is. Place 2 zeros after any number, and you multiply that number by 100. See how simple that is. Place 3 zeros after any number, and you multiply that number by 1,000. Etc. And if I need to, ad nauseam, forever and ever, with zero, my hero, how wonderful you are.
That's fine. Thank you.
Hello there, I am Archimedes. I was born in 287 BC, Syracuse, Greece. I'm the creator of pie. No, not the kind you eat. I'm the greatest mathematician of my time. I'm pretty sure I got the exact distance between Earth and the other planets. If you heard of me, it's from my invention, the Archimedes screw, the first pump. The Romans are currently invading Syracuse, so I made the claw. It's a tall rod with a hook on top. It raises then slams down sinking Roman ships. I am currently working on the death ray. I want to amplify the sun's energy and ignite the Roman ships. I also made integral calculus, the first form of calculus. Thank you.
Dzień dobry. Ja jestem Mikołaj Copernic. In other words, good morning. I am Nicholas Copernicus. I was born on Torun, Poland on February 19, 1473. My father died when I was 10, but my uncle stepped in and gave me a good education and work at the church. Astronomy was just my hobby. Well, in the 1500s, everyone thought that the Earth was in the center of the universe, not the sun. I did lots of research to try to prove to them that the sun was in the center of the universe, not Earth. Since just telling them didn't work, I created a theory and wrote a book called On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Spheres. This book included 7 axioms, or true statements, that talked about my heliocentric theory. In other words, that the sun was in the center of the universe. I did all my observations with my own eye. Apparently now there is a telescope that helps support my theory. That would have been more helpful. Thank you.
Do you ever wonder how objects just fall to the ground? Well, I created the theory of gravity. Hello, my name is Isaac Newton. I was born in Lincolnshire, England in 1642. I made a lot of important inventions, including my reflecting telescope, calculus, and the 3 laws of motion. My first law states that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion until acted on by an external force. My second law states that force equals mass times acceleration. My most famous law is the 3rd law of motion, which you all probably know. It is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. I was elected to the British Parliament after my book called Principia on modern day physics that made me famous. I was knighted by Queen Anne and am known as Sir Isaac Newton. You can just call me Mr. Newton. I hope we can discuss today about gravity and physics. Thank you.
Bonjour, my name is Jean Bray. I was born on July 27, 1740 in Loire Valley, France. I was the first woman to circumnavigate the globe, but my true passion is botany. I've loved botany since I was a little girl, but in 1766, when I was in my 20s, my life changed. A team of botanists were sailing around the world collecting plants. I wanted to go, but women weren't allowed, so I dressed as a man and I was led on the ship. On our journey to Madagascar, Tahiti, and New Guinea, I discovered many plants such as the bougainvillea. The bougainvillea is a colorful vine that I named after the commander of our ship. Some of the plants and seeds that I collected are in the National French Museum of Natural History in Paris. Well, I'm on my way to discover some more plants, and I hear there's a ship leaving soon. Au revoir, thank you.
Hi, I'm Charles Darwin. I was born on February 12, 1809 in the city of Shrewsbury, England. When I was a young boy, my mother died, and my sisters took care of me. My father was at work all day long, and he could not take care of me. I went to Christ College in 1828 and graduated in 1831. That's when I got an opportunity to go on the Beagle Voyage. When I was on the Beagle Voyage, I had 2 theories. One, the theory of evolution, and second, the survival of the fittest. When I came back, I wrote a book about my voyage. In 1859, I published my theory of evolution in a book called On the Origin of Species. People hated me. They thought I was crazy. I wrote many versions on it for people to understand, and they started to understand it. Well, I gotta go now. Thank you.
My name is Byron Lovelace. I was born on December 10th, 1815 in London, England. My mother was a scientist and my father was a poet. While my mother cared for me, my father went off with his career, leaving us behind, so we left him. With the bright mind my mom knew I had, she got a tutor for me in 1834. With this tutor, my curiosity started to bloom. Too bad I was diagnosed with the measles soon after, which left me partially blind. After recovering from my blindness, I met the person that would change my life forever, Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage put ideas into my head that were great. With his help, my biggest idea started to bloom, the computer.
We didn't exactly create how the computer would look. Instead, we created the coding and scripting, which was huge since that didn't exist back then. With this help, during World War II, it was finished to decipher codes during the war. Anyways, I have to go cover some computer business right now. Thank you. Hello, I am Florence Nightingale, and I am a nurse that helped change the way we treat people in hospitals. My story began when I was born on May 12, 1820 in Florence, Italy. I was expected not to work, and my only priority was to marry well. That life was not for me. I wanted to be a nurse. After me and my grandma convinced my parents that I could work in a hospital, I moved to London and worked at the Institution for Sick Gentlewomen in Distressed Circumstances for a year, then went to help our injured soldiers in Scutari, Turkey. In Scutari, I brought 38 nurses with me, and we all saw rodents, bugs, contaminated water, and disease everywhere at the base hospital. I sent all the nurses to work cleaning the hospital because I thought that the soldiers needed a sanitary hospital to survive. I was right. After we cleaned the hospital, the death rate dropped by 2/3. When I returned home, I became ill with Crimean fever. I survived, but I was bedridden. I wrote reports on how to make hospitals more sanitary. My most famous report is titled Notes on Matters Affecting the Health Efficiency and Hospital Administration of the British Army. In this report, I made a coxcomb pie chart to show that the deaths due to disease in the war were greater than the deaths due to injuries. Because of this report, the people in charge of the hospitals understood how important sanitary conditions are. Well, I shall be going now. I don't want to keep my patient waiting. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Edward Drinker Cope. I was born on July 28, 1840 in Philadelphia, and I'm a paleontologist. In 1860, I attended the University of Berlin, and in 1861, I went to the University of Berlin to escape the American Civil War. When I was in Berlin, I met another paleontologist named O.C. Marsh. In 1866, I made my first dinosaur find and named it Lelaps aquilungus. In 1867, I was sent the skeleton of Elasmosaurus. I placed the head on the tail, and that started the bone wars of Marsh. In 1871, I went out west to look for fossils. I discovered 56 new species, wrote over 600 articles, and 3 books called Cope's Bible. And after Marsh got me fired from my job on the U.S. Geological Survey, I still continued to study fossils and managed to get here after I got ill in 1897. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alexander Graham Bell, the man who changed the world forever with the telephone. Anyways, I was born on March 3rd, 1847 in Edinburgh, Scotland. When I was a young boy, I grew up with a very hard life, with my mother being deaf and my father was always gone, for he taught the deaf and the mute. However, I managed to keep up my grades, and at age 11 I entered a high school called Royal High School, but I had to leave at age 15 for my family was having too many troubles, so they decided to ship me off to live with my grandfather. When I was with my grandfather, I entered a college called University College London, in London. And in 1871, I had to leave, sadly, because I had too many family troubles, so we decided to move to Brantford, Ontario, Canada. When I was there, I decided I would start a new career. I was going to work hard with my father and become a teacher of the deaf and the mute. So soon in 1872, I did it. I would teach at the Boston University of Deaf and Mute in Boston, Massachusetts. However, I wanted to do more than just help them communicate with each other. I wanted to make a way for everybody to communicate with each other from long distances. I would call my invention the telephone. Not too long after, on March 10th, 1876, my invention was complete, so I had my assistant, Mr. Watson, go into a separate room with one end of the telephone, and I spoke these words into my end. "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." He came into my room as he had heard the words that I had spoken over the telephone. Those words have changed the world forever. I mean, just see how the phone has advanced from today. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Alice Eastwood, and I'm a self-taught botanist. In case you didn't know, a botanist isn't someone who makes robots. A botanist is a person who's an expert in plants. I was born on January 19th in 1859 in Toronto, Canada. When I was 6, my mother died, so I went to live with my uncle. He loved to garden, and that's where I found my love for nature. He taught me the Latin names of plants, like lavandula, for lavender. I work in San Francisco at the California Academy of Sciences, one of the largest natural history museums in the world. Have you heard of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake? After the quake ended, I ran to the academy and saved nearly 1,500 plant specimens before the building burned to the ground. I have named 395 plant species. I have published 310 scientific articles and have won many awards for my studies. Ta-ta for now. I have a botany class to teach. Thank you.
Bonjour. Je m'appelle Madame Curie. Oops, I forgot. I'm not in France anymore. So, hello. My name is Marie Curie. You may have heard of me by my 2 Nobel Prizes I was awarded with in physics and chemistry. But that's not even half of what I've done in my life. So let me tell you a little bit of my background. I was born on November 7th, 1867 in Warsaw, Poland, with the name of Maria Skłodowska. After earning 2 degrees, my husband and I went on to learn how to isolate radium and polonium. Polonium is named after my home country, Poland. Radium decays into radon, which helps cure some types of cancer. And polonium is used in a brush to keep dust off of photographic film. I also helped out with the discovery of the X-ray, which helps doctors find out what's wrong with someone's bone structure. I also helped out in World War I by equipping medical vehicles with X-rays. I also had a life that isn't just work, work, work. I met my husband Pierre in 1894, and we married the next year. We had 2 children, Irene and Eve. Sadly, a few years later, he was murdered. Lately, I've been feeling very ill. My doctors say it might be all the radioactivity I work with. So I have to go to my doctor's appointment now. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Josephine Baker. I was born on November 15th, 1873 in Poughkeepsie, New York. All my adult life, I worked toward helping the public have access to medicine. In 1894, I enrolled at the Medical College of New York and graduated in 1898. I was the Babies Welfare Association president for 3 years. In 1910, I made a program for girls and women on how to take better care of their children and siblings. It was called Little Monsters. In my late 40s, I published over 50 articles, and they were named Healthy Children, Healthy Mothers, and Healthy Babies. I also wrote an autobiography called Fighting for Life. Well, I have to be on my way. The health department would like to see the model I created to help the sick. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lizzy Minor, and I'm known as the mother of the atomic bomb. I was born on November 7th, 1878 in Vienna, into a Jewish family. I entered the University of Vienna's physics department in 1902, and I was only the second woman to do so. I graduated by receiving a PhD and highest honors in physics in 1906. I knew I needed to turn my career, so I moved to Berlin, and that's where I met Otto Hahn, a famous chemist who worked in the new field of radioactivity. Together, we made many major discoveries. We made our first major discovery in 1917. We discovered an element called protactinium. After many hard years of working as Otto's unpaid partner, I was finally appointed as the first woman professor in Germany. And not to brag, but one year later, I was named one of the best professors in Germany by James Chadwick. A dictator named Adolf Hitler arose in 1938, and he hated Jewish people, trust me. So that's why I moved to Sweden. And with another physicist, my nephew, Otto Robert Frisch, we unlocked the key to the phenomenon that would change history. Our theory stated that enough mass was converted into energy during the split of a uranium atom. I gave my theory a name called nuclear fission, and I sent it to Otto in 1944. He betrayed our deep and dear friendship by taking all the credit for our discovery. He even received a Nobel Prize. Even though I wasn't recognized for my work in Europe, I was invited to America as the Woman of the Year by President Harry S. Truman in 1946. Have you heard the news lately? The threat to nuclear war is at their highest stakes. Seems like some of our world leaders need a bit of my advice. Thank you.
Did you ever think a kid who got kicked out of school could become one of the world's most smartest people ever? Hi, my name is Albert Einstein. I was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, Germany. When I was 10, I went to high school. Unfortunately, I was kicked out for asking hard questions that the teachers couldn't answer. In 1895, I moved with my parents to Italy. A year later, I re-entered high school in Switzerland. The same year, I published my first scientific paper. It disagreed with Newton's theory on gravity. In 1901, I graduated. In 1912, I worked on my theory of relativity, which explains energy. In 1921, I won the Nobel Prize for Physics. That same year, I was invited to the White House by President Harding. During the 1930s, I had suspected that the Germans were building a bomb that could destroy the world. And then the Nazis put out a warrant for me, and I moved to America. In 1939, I wrote a letter to President Roosevelt telling him that the U.S. had to build an atomic bomb before the Germans destroyed the world. From 1940 to 1955, I taught at the University of Princeton. Well, I had to go work on more physics projects. Thank you.
Do you know the Hubble telescope? That's named after me. Yes, I am Edmund Powell Hubble. I was born on November 20th, 1889 in Marshfield, Missouri. When I was 8 years old, my grandfather made a telescope. On my 9th birthday, he took me out to the mountains and I got to look through it. This inspired me to be an astronomer. In my 20s, I worked at Mount Wilson Observatory with the 100-inch telescope. That's huge. I was looking at a picture of the Andromeda system when I noticed an interesting fact about these pictures and some ones taken before. Then I did more research, and sure enough, I found out the Andromeda system is another galaxy. Also, I found that the spiral nebulae are giant pinwheel galaxies. I made the quote, "The greater the distance from the sun, the faster it is moving." This became known as Hubble's law. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and check out the Elgin Watch Company Observatory. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Curie. You may have heard of me. If not, that's okay. I am a famous scientist, just like my mother, Marie Curie. I also met Albert Einstein, a famous scientist. He was amazed by my knowledge. I was born in France on September 12, 1897. I'm proud of my French birth, but I'm also very proud of my Polish heritage. Polish heritage. My mother and my father won the Nobel Prize in Physics. I had two children, Irene and Pierre Julia Curie. Helena and Pierre Julia Curie. They both became scientists. One of my greatest accomplishments happened in 1935. I was the first one to I won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for radioactivity. I was the first one to figure out how to change one element into a radioactive form of another element. I found out that the radiation was absorbed by the human thyroid gland. Papa, au revoir, which means goodbye. I'm off for now. Thank you.
Regatta. Oh, sorry. I mean good morning. I'm not yet fluent in English. I am Leo Szilard. You may know me because I worked on the atomic bomb that ended World War II. If not, here's some background information on me. I was born on February 11th, 1898 in Budapest, Hungary. I moved around quite a bit in my life, from Hungary to Vienna to London before I finally arrived here in the United States in 1938. And in 1939, I helped write the Albert Einstein letter to then President Roosevelt about creating an atomic bomb. And the Manhattan Project was cleared to work on August of 1939. I worked with a more known partner who got his own building named after him in nearby Batavia, Enrico Fermi. Sadly, but due to my work, the United States dropped 2 bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending World War II. I did not agree with the dropping of the bombs, so I switched my profession to biology. And in October of 1946, UC Davis gave me a job to be a biologist. I married Gertrude Weiss in 1951. I was married in California, too. I enjoyed being a biologist so much that when EMBO, or European Molecular Biology Organization, asked me to join, I couldn't resist. I now live in La Jolla, California. Oh gosh, I don't want to be rude, but I have to go lecture President Trump about not wanting nuclear war. Vislas, and thank you.
Hello, my name is Enrico Fermi, and I'm an accomplished physicist. Well, I'm only in the area because of Fermi Lab, named after yours truly. When I was asked to speak here, who would I be to let down my fellow physics enthusiasts? I was born on September 29th, 1901 in Rome. I preferred peace and quiet, which is why I took to math and physics. Eventually, in 1918, I was awarded a scholarship to the University of Pisa. I spent 4 years at college and earned my PhD in physics in 1922. After college, I was doing a lot of work, and it was hard work. And my work was soon recognized when I received a Nobel Prize in 1938. After I received my Nobel Prize, I thought I was doing some pretty major stuff, until the US government asked me to help on a job. This job was so big it was considered top secret stuff. I mean, it's over now, so I can talk about it. I think. But the small details don't matter. I was working with other great minds such as Einstein, Oppenheimer, and Szilard. We were working to create a weapon so powerful it could obliterate our enemies. And it did. We created an atomic bomb. I said it was possible. I proved nuclear fission could happen, which gave off the energy to create an explosion, which is a pretty major aspect of any bomb, let alone a nuclear one. But when the US dropped the bomb, I saw what our creation had done to the world. I disagreed, and honestly still do today with the dropping of the bomb. Holy neutrons! Look at the time! I'm supposed to start a lecture right now! Goodbye!
Hi, my name is Byron Lovelace. I was born on June 16, 1902 in Hartford, Connecticut. I went to Cornell University, and I was an assistant professor. I worked with a lot of maize, also known as corn, and I studied chromosomes. I won the Nobel Prize in 1983 for my discovery of mobile genetics called jumping genes. And I also received the National Medal of Science from President Richard Nixon for establishing the inherited characters and detailed shapes of their chromosomes. I would like to talk more about your different traits, but I must get back to my lab to study more chromosomes in maize. Thank you.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jacques Cousteau. Je suis né le 11 juin 1910. Ah, I'm sorry, you do not speak French. Hello, my name is Jacques Cousteau. I was born on June 11th, 1910. I am an oceanographer and I created the aqualung. What is the aqualung? Well, it is the first snorkeling suit ever made. Without it, you would not be able to swim under the ocean for a very long time. I first started diving at age 10 in Lake Arvey, Vermont. I was also interested in making movies about the ocean. I discovered many things in my life. I discovered 2 sunken Roman ships that were over 2,000 years old. I also created the Cousteau Society. The Cousteau Society was created to show people of the world the underwater life so that they can protect it by teaching people that littering and polluting is bad for the ocean and the things that live in it. In my life, I protected the ocean, rivers, lakes, and ponds. I hope you can do the same. Thank you.
Adamson. I was born January 20th, 1910 in Tropow, Australia. From a young age, I have loved animals, and since I couldn't have any children, my animals acted as them to me. After a while, I adopted a lion cub named Elsa. She was the smallest of her group. I studied her general movements and life. This inspired me to write a book called Born Free. It was the New York Times bestseller for 3 weeks. After Elsa died from a sickness caused by a tick bite, I adopted a leopard cub named Pippa. I also wrote a book about her. It was called Pippa's Challenge. It wasn't as popular as Born Free, but it was still a good book. I hope this inspires you to protect animals from extinction. Well, I hear my cubs calling me, and they need feeding. Bye.
Hi, my name is Alan Torrent. I was born on June 23rd, 1912 in London, England. I went to Sherborne School at the age of 13. I was interested in calculus and did competitive running. I tried out for the 1948 Olympics. I went to King's College in 1931. In 1934, I graduated from King's College with a degree in mathematics. In 1938, I got my PhD in mathematics. When World War II started, I built the Bomba. It was a German code-breaking machine that helped the British and their allies defeat the Nazis. But when the Nazis changed their code language, the bomb was rendered useless. That's why I built a bomb. No, not that kind of bomb. It was the same, it was a different looking machine, but had the same purpose as the Bomba. Because of my great decoding skills, I was made an officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. I also created something called the imitation game, now known as the Turing test. It's where there is a computer placed in one room and a human placed in the other. And there's a judge placed on the outside of both rooms. The judge has conversations with the two rooms and tries to guess which one is the computer. If the judge cannot guess which one is the computer is said to have passed the test, and no computer has passed it yet. Well, running inspires me to build more machines, so I'm off to run. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chen Trung Wu. My nickname is the First Lady of Physics. I am the first Asian female nuclear physicist. I was born May 31st, 1912 in a small town near Shanghai, China. My parents made sure I received an excellent education and I graduated in the top of my college. In 1936, I left China to attend graduate school at Berkeley University in California, where I studied physics and electromagnetic radiation. In 1944, the U.S. government asked me to work on the top-secret Manhattan Project, where I worked with many other scientists to help create the atomic bombs the U.S. sent to Japan. Later, I worked with 2 male lab partners at Columbia University. My research helped them receive a Nobel Prize in 1957, but since I was an Asian female, I was not recognized for my work. However, I did end up receiving many honors and awards in my career. I don't want to brag, but asteroid number 2752 is named after me. It was the first asteroid to be named after a living scientist. I feel very important. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marjorie Lee Brown. I was born September 9, 1914 in Memphis, Tennessee. I was a prominent mathematician and educator who in 1949 became only the 3rd African-American woman to earn a PhD in my field. I recognized that it was important for more black women to be in math fields. I viewed early education as a primary route to inspire confidence in young mathematicians. I was named chair of the mathematics department at North Carolina College. I used that position to help my school pioneer some of the earliest computers used in my field. I received a $60,000 grant from IBM to set up an electronic digital computer center at North Carolina College, one of its kind at a minority college. I I was recognized with the W.W. Raker Memorial Award for Excellence in Mathematics Education, an honor handed out by the North Carolina Council of Teachers of Mathematics. I bet you didn't learn that in math class. Thank you.
Vaccine was developed, there were more than 3,000 polio deaths each year. Hello, my name is Jonas Salk. I was born on October 28, 1914 in New York City. In 1934, I started medical school at the New York School of Medicine. The next year, I started to study biochemistry. In 1942, I became part of a group that was working to develop a flu vaccine. I worked with Dr. Harry Weaver. He was the director of the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis. Together, we researched and tested the killed virus against polio. On March 26, 1953, I gave a nationwide radio speech called The Scientist Speaks for Himself. I also worked with Dr. Thomas Francis to create a polio vaccine. In 1955, the vaccine was released for general use in the United States. In 1963, I established the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California. That is currently where I'm working. Thank you.
Are you wondering how to solve a Rubik's Cube? Well, actually, I created a device that could solve one. Hi, my name is Claude Shannon, and I have come to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born on April 30th, 1916. When I graduated high school, I built a radio-controlled boat and a telegraphic system. I received degrees in math and science from the University of Michigan. I received my PhD from MIT in electrical engineering. In 1948, I wrote a book called The Mathematical Theory of Communication. It had held 6,000 copies in 6 years. In addition to my Rubik's Cube fixer, I also built a rocket-powered Frisbee. Look what cool toys mathematicians can make. All of my publications were about different words you can make into patterns. That is how I came up with the thought of the information theory, which is coding. Well, I like to stay and chat, but I have to go work on a book to help you solve the Rubik's Cube. Thank you.
If x plus y times 3 equals z and x equals 23, then... Oh, sorry, I didn't notice you there. Hi, I'm Katherine Johnson. I was born on August 28, 1918 in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. My family thought that education was very important. So after elementary school, I attended high school at age 10. Sadly, my town didn't have a high school for black people, so my family and I would move 110 miles away to Institute, West Virginia. I thought that car ride would never end. After high school, I attended West Virginia State College. I graduated with bachelor's degrees in French and mathematics. After college, for my early career, I was a school teacher at a public school in West Virginia in 1932. But a few years later, I decided to leave to start a family with my husband, James Goodall. In 1953, I received a letter from NASA asking me if I would join their team of mathematicians. I took that job in a heartbeat. While I was there, I calculated many great computations, such as the Freedom 7 that launched in 1961. The Freedom 7 was the second spaceship to be sent into space. Also, the Apollo 11. The Apollo 11 was the first spaceship to send 3 men to the moon. And if I recall, it's the first spaceship to send anything to the moon. After I retired in 1986, wait, what was that? Really? Oh, sorry folks, I just gotten word from NASA that they're building a new satellite and they need my help. I can't keep NASA waiting. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I am Julia Bowman Robinson, a pioneer. I know what you're thinking, one that's going west in a covered wagon? No, I'm a pioneer in mathematics for women, and also one of America's greatest female mathematicians of the 20th century. I was born on December 8, 1919 in St. Louis. When I was 9, I suffered from scarlet and rheumatic fever. I missed 2 years of school, but in high school I was the only girl in my math and physics class. I attended the University of California at Berkeley, majoring in mathematics. After college, I worked at Rand Corporation on game theory. Rand Corporation is a non-profit think tank. I received my highest recognition for my work on Hilbert's 10th problem. Hilbert's 10th problem is one of his 23 problems that he thought needed to be solved for the upcoming century. I was one of those great minds to eventually solve the 10th problem. In recognition of my great talent and hard work, I was the first woman officer of the American Mathematical Society. And a few years later, I was the first female president of the society. A year later, I was awarded a John D. Katherine D. MacArthur Foundation Prize. And don't forget about being elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Oh, whoa, look at the time. I must be getting on my journey through mathematics to help develop technology and math. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, I'm Roslyn Franklin. You probably know me as the founder of DNA structure. By the way, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Many people think of it as the building blocks of life, which is actually true. DNA is made up of amino acids which create proteins and so on. Well, anyway, let's talk more about me. I was born in London, England on July 25th, 1920. At the age of 15, I wanted to become a scientist. That same year, my parents joined me at North London College School to excel in science and to start a PhD. After I earned my PhD in physical chemistry at Newnham College, I enrolled in CURA. CURA stands for Co-Utilization Research Association. While I worked there, I found one of my greatest discoveries, which was that genes are located in DNA. I did this by examining coal pieces in an X-ray machine. I even showed an image to Maurice Wilkins, which was soon stolen by Francis Crick, and he earned a Nobel Prize instead of me. That is probably why some people still think he discovered the DNA structure. Later, I was offered a 3-year scholarship at King's College in 1951. While I was there, I joined the study of DNA. With the help of my team members, I figured out that the shape of DNA was a double helix. Since many people appreciated what I did during my lifetime, they named a university after me, Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science in 2003. Well, anyway, I still want to talk to you, but I have to go give a presentation on the commercial for Ancestry.com. Thank you.
American to orbit the Earth. My name is John Glenn. I was born on July 18th, 1921 in Cambridge, Ohio. When I was 21, I joined the military. I flew 90 missions in the Korean War. After that, NASA chose me to lead the Friendship 7 into space. I flew 160 kilometers above the Earth and orbited the Earth 3 times before I splashed down and became a hero. Afterwards, I got into a political career. I won Senate seat for Ohio. Then I went back to NASA as part of the Discovery Space Shuttle crew. I wore wires on my hands and had to study gravity. But NASA's calling me. Thank you.
Oh, hi there. I was just grooming my friend Jane Goodall here. After all these years with the gorillas, I guess it just comes naturally. My name's Dian Fossey, and I'm a zoologist and conservationist. I'm originally from California, and when I was growing up, I was very self-conscious. But later in life, I realized I needed a voice to speak my mind. And trust me, I had opinions. After I received my degree in occupational therapy in 1953, I moved away from California and my parents as fast as I could. I went to Louisville, Kentucky in 1954. Then my best friend took a trip to Africa, and I was down there in a flash. I completely fell in love with the culture, natural elements, and most of all, the mountain gorillas. Then, when I came back, I attended one of Dr. Louis Leakey's speeches in 1966 about the highly endangered species of the mountain gorilla. After the speech, I convinced him that I could be the woman who changed their fate forever, and he actually agreed to it. Before I moved to Africa, I stayed with Jane Goodall for a couple of days to learn how to operate a research mission. Then I moved over to Rwanda, where I founded the Karasoke Research Center in the Virunga Mountains. To get acclimated to the gorillas there, I acted like them. At 14 years after moving to Africa, I temporarily relocated to Ithaca, New York, where I got my book, Gorillas in the Mist, published. While I was there, I was also the visiting professor at Cornell University. look at the time. My flight leaves for Africa in 10 minutes. Well, goodbye for now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jane Goodall, otherwise known as the Chimpanzee Lady. I received this nickname because I work with chimpanzees, not that I look like one. Anyway, I'm here to tell you a little bit of my life history. I was born on April 3rd, 1934 in London, England. My first chimpanzee friend was a stuffed chip named Jubilee that I received from my mom when I was 2 years old, and I still have him to this day. Since I was young, I loved animals and dreamed of going to Africa. I was finally able to live my dream when I was 26 years old. I went to Africa. I met up with the famous anthropologist Dr. Louis Leakey, my friend Dian Fossey knew. 2 years later, I was studying wild chimps in the Gombe National Park in Africa. It took the chimps 2 full years to finally get close enough to touch me. That was my first big accomplishment. After studying chimps for a while, I saw one strip a branch and put it into an anthill. When he pulled it back out, he had an ant sickle. This doesn't sound big, but it was. Up until that point, we all thought humans were the only ones to use tools. I called my friend Dr. Louis Leakey right away. That wasn't the end of it. I found out chimps do a lot of other things, like rain dances and fighting. Once I got a bit older, I made a lot of organizations to help the natural world. To this day, I travel and give speeches about my work, and here I am. I heard back in Gombe a new baby chimp was just born, so I have to go see him. Bye, thank you.
Good morning. Before our distinguished guests come back up for some pictures, we would like to recognize the dedicated and talented people who made this morning such a success. First, to our small but mighty parent committee, our EAPA Middle School Vice President women, Mrs. Rhonda Dwyer and Mrs. Danny Smiley. They worked tirelessly on every detail of the day, from food and decorations to sets and communication and anything that came their way. And if I can direct your attention somewhere up in the rafters, we send our thanks to Jeff Martin, Mary Bear, along with Preston Desch and Ben Simon, who have mastered our lighting here today and have filmed today's presentation. And to our EA alum parent, Aisha Khan, who has been feverishly clicking away the still images of your kids. And of course, a wonderful thanks to our middle school director, Sandy Rivak, for supporting the faculty and our students throughout the whole process. Thank you. And of course, we would like to thank the maintenance staff for setting up the chairs and the tables and providing parking arrangements and everything else. So thank you so much. At this time, I will invite the presenters up for a group picture. One more second, guys. I ask that all of you, our guests, stay seated so that our photographer, Ms. Aisha Khan, can take a group photo, and we're going to share those images with you later so you'll have one terrific, great picture. And then once the photos are done, our presenters are going to move around to locations in the room, and they are going to be delighted to speak with you individually about their great accomplishments and share with you their projects. They have worked so hard to prepare for today. So we hope you'll find some time to spend with each one of them. And again, thank you for coming.